So, it finally happened. Silksong actually got released. It's been really fun so far. The best part of Metroidvanias is often the platforming, and Silksong doesn't disappoint. There are lots of different biomes to explore, each with unique mechanics that makes traversing the map not only fun, but also feels rewarding. And this is critical for a game where you spend a huge amount of time just running around. More on that later. The slow drip of new skills like the claw line and the double jump provide plenty of reasons to backtrack through old maps, seeking out the dopamine rush of finding a new path to explore. And even if you reach the hallowed halls of the Citadel faster than you expected, there's plenty more map for you to explore in the game's second act, with even more surprises for you in Act 3. Of course, a lot of the enjoyment you'll get along your journey comes from the many companions that you'll meet along the way. From Chakra, the fierce explorer and cartographer, to the enigmatic mask maker, but no longer has the crazy eyes. Gilly's camouflage and curiosity, and the Bell Hermit's very friendly disposition, Loam's tireless devotion, contrasted by the Pinterest's energetic educating. To the friend who has the munchies, and the one who wants your bud. There's your bugger from another mother. And there's also a few companions who are overly devoted to you and your divine juices. In addition to its charming roster of allies, Silksong also hosts some excellent enemies. Some of my favorites have been the Clockwork Dancers, Drobio, Phantom, and Drobia? Unfortunately, with the good also comes the bad. There's a point in the game where a filthy, trolly fly comes along and one-shot cages you with no telegraph, and then you're stripped of all of your gear and forced to fight through a series of uninteresting cannon fodder that gets overly prolonged due to the fact that you do 0 damage. And there is no amount of vengeful neck snapping that will make me okay with this dumpster fire of a dungeon. And no, the plant vor doesn't make up for it either. Another issue I had was, despite there ultimately being 7 crests, I went through most of the storyline with only 3 of them, one being the starting crest, and functionally only really ever used one. I really only started getting more use out of the crest mechanics around the time I reached the cradle, and then going into the post-game. And while theoretically, 4 of them can be found at any time, I feel like players should have been more deliberately forced into encountering the quests and/or dungeons for accessing these earlier to promote a wider variety of combat tactics and just general enjoyment from the game. Also, as a person who does their fair share of wandering around the map's nooks and crannies, the rate at which health upgrades can be accrued was shockingly slow. I faced Granny Silk with only a single full extra mask, despite finding 3.5 extra spool upgrades. Having everything deal double damage compared to the original Hollow Knight is certainly a choice, but pairing that with not being able to upgrade your nail for the first time until after defeating the Widow didn't feel great to me personally. I know the save benches requiring a tithe makes sense from a lore perspective, but having to find the damn things is trouble enough, then forcing me to pay for the privilege of saving on top of that felt like a bit of a slap in the face. However, making me pay for a broken save point in one of the most challenging areas in Act 2 was a troll too far. And then there's the bosses. As I alluded to earlier, I actually really enjoyed most of the boss fights in Silksong. That said, there are some absolutely terrible boss mechanics in there as well. The last judge is probably the first one that you'll encounter, with a hitbox so large that you can barely clear him without a successful pogo, who will repeatedly attack you from off-screen, and even if you stun him, you still get screwed over by his fire pillars. Plus, this is the only boss who has a unique attribute of self-destructing upon defeat as one last few to the player by killing them after the fight is effectively over. The Father of the Flame fight, while nowhere near as difficult, is probably my least favorite boss in the entire game. This fight consists entirely of untargetable heat-seeking missiles that you have to dodge while pogo attacking the entire fight, and despite having no targetable enemies to hit, you still don't generate any silk while attacking the boss. Plus, tools like the Cogfly for some reason won't target the boss, I guess because they don't want Father to get upset with them. None of the Act 1 or 2 bosses can hold a candle to Grohl the Great, at least in terms of pure frustration. A giant flying boss that loves to remind you about his collision damage, and who can hoover you into maggot water that drains your silk, while the cherry on top being that you don't even get to fight Grohl until being worn down by several waves of very annoying enemies, which he resummons later in the fight, and it's just terrible. Plus, there are almost never save benches near boss fights, which means you spend most of your time backtracking, rather than getting to learn the attack patterns of the fight. Finally, there's Grandmother Silk, who really just felt like a toned-down version of the Radiance. Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but for a game that has such a build-up and so many other epic boss fights, Granny just felt a little anticlimactic by the time you reached her. Unless you were fighting her while you're infected by the void, but that's a whole different thing. Overall, Silksong is a great game, and it's definitely worth your time, especially if you enjoyed the original Hollow Knight. While there isn't anything new or particularly groundbreaking, Silksong is definitely a fun pick-me-up if you need a break from all the recent Buggy AAA games. This is already the longest video I've made, but if you enjoyed it and would like me to make another one about all the stuff from Act 3, let me know down in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
That's fine.
Nera, Primpalo Cassetto.
Yanara.